Hi, everybody. We're going to be talking about domain today. And domain is a very important word that you're going to be using a lot in this class and as you move forward in math. So let's talk about it. The domain is the set of all x values in a function. And there are several names that you're going to need to remember, okay? So x values, domain, is also known as the input and is the independent variable. All right, so domain, all the x values, domain, input, independent. All of those words mean the same thing, but you got to know them all. So let's go ahead and look at a table. And the question says, what is the domain of the function represented by the table? Well, you know the domain is all of the x values. So that is it right there. But there's a specific way we need to write them. First, we have to write curly brackets. And that was not a very good curly bracket. So I'm going to try again. Let me see if I can figure out a way to do it where it might be easier for both of us. You know what? I know it's supposed to be curly, but I'm just going to do a bracket, okay? So then I'm going to look at all the x values and I want to put them in ascending order. That means smallest to greatest. So the smallest one is a 3, then there's a 5, then there's a 7, then there's a 9. Now this one was very good to us and it was already in order. That will not always happen. So let's show you one where that is not the case. This says list, from a list of points, what is the domain of the function? Well, there are several ways to do this. And what I like to do is I like to either circle the domain, the x value, or mark out the y value since you know you're looking for domain. Either one works. Because I get really distracted when I see extra things, when I'm looking for domain, I'm going to get rid of the y. So I'm going to just scribble through, kind of, just make sure I stay only at the y. I'm covering all those y's up. And now I know that I have the domain, except that we want them in ascending order. So that means smallest. Let me try again to do a curly bracket. Oh, Lord, that is not good. Maybe if I go this way and then, that looks like a man's. Anyway, I give up. So smallest to largest. So the smallest number up here, because negatives, the bigger the negative, the smaller the number, is -9. Then we have a -2. Then we have a -1, a 0, and a 3. Now, yeah, that didn't work out either. But anyway, we're going to make sure that we have all the numbers here. So here's the -9. I'm going to put a dot there. Yep, I got it. Here's the -2. Got it. -1. Got it. 0 and a 3. I know you might think that that's a little bit too much to be doing, but believe me, it will be helpful to you, and you don't want to make mistakes. So the best way to keep yourself from making mistakes is to just go ahead and give yourself a double check, even a triple check sometimes. The next way we're going to look at it is from a graph. Now there's two different ways to do this. It says to identify the domain of the function represented by the graph. I'm going to show you two ways, okay? So the first way, I'm going to draw a t-chart, x and y values. So let's start, since we're looking for the domain, let's start at the left and see what that first point is there. It is -1, 2, 3, and a +2. So I've written it down. Now let's go down here to this one. Its x is a 0 and its y is -1, 2, 3, -4. Then let's go over here to this one. That is 2, 1. Let me make our chart a little bit longer. And then this last point here is 1, 2, 3, 1. So we know that our domain is just these x values. And if we're going to try those curly brackets again, I keep trying. Ascending order, we're going to do -3, 0, 2, and 3. And try it again. It still didn't work. But there's another way to do this, reading off that graph, and it's the way that I choose to do it. I'm going to go ahead and show you by using a highlighter. If we're looking for the domain, we're looking for x values. Well, this right here is our x-axis. The x-axis is a little bit more straight than my highlighting is, but just bear with me. The first thing I do is I look at this point right here, and I ask myself, in that point, what is its x value? 1, 2, -3. Well, lo and behold, -3 will be the first number in my domain. Then I'm going to keep moving to the right, and I see this guy down here, and I'm going to go all the way up and say, what was its x value? Well, its x value was 0. All right, let's keep going. So I'm going to look at this point and ask myself, what was its x value? Well, its x value was a +2. And here, his x value was a +3. So as you notice, oh, see, my curly brackets are getting so much better. No comment, by the way. That I get the same exact answer, -3, 0, 2, 3. You can do that by actually finding the points and putting them in a t-chart, or by looking at the graph and knowing that domain will be the value on the x-axis. Okay? All right, fantastic. Let's keep going. Now we're going to talk about range, and I bet y'all know, can guess what the range is, because we were just talking about x values, correct? So now we're going to be talking about y values in a function. Names to remember, just like we had names for domain, we have names for range. Y values, range, output, and dependent variable. And if you think about it, x values go with y values. Domain goes with range. Input goes with output. Independent goes with dependent variable. All right? So let's keep going and let's talk about how we're going to identify the range. What is the range of this function? Again, range we know is our y values. So they are right there. Again, I'm going to try to do that curly graph. Oh well. And we're going to do ascending order. So smallest number all the way up to the largest number. And there. Oh, that was a good bracket. I wish I could copy it. That is our range. Now, we're going to ask for the range of a list of points in a function. Well, range means y, so just like I did the opposite last time, I'm going to go ahead and just cover up my x's so they are not there to confuse me or distract me, because sometimes my eye just tends to look at everything and it makes a little mistake here and there. So what is the range? Again, we have to go from smallest to largest. So what's the smallest there? That negative definitely is the smallest. So let's do -2. And then we're going to go up to 0. Then we're going to go for 5 and 6. Let's try my, oh, well, get good. And then, oh, there's one, kind of. Anyway, so we had the -2. We had the 0. We had the 4. We have the 5. We have the 6. So that is our range. Again, I double and triple check just because I like to get things correct. I'm not a fan of mistakes, although mistakes are good because then you learn from them. But if I can keep from making a mistake, I definitely try to. All right? So let me go on to the next one. Finally, we have a graph, and we're identifying the range of the function represented by the graph. I'm going to do this two ways again, just like I did the last one. And since I'm doing range this time, instead of starting from the left, I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'll show you why that's important in a minute. Well, that is x negative 4, or 0 negative 4, excuse me. So I'll put that there, and I'm going to go up, and these two seem to be next. So they are 2, 1, and 3. 1, and finally this one up here as I moved up the graph is negative 3, 2. All right, so that means that my range is negative 4, 1, and when you have it duplicate, you only write it once. You don't have to write it again. And 2. So my range is negative 4, 1, and 2. All right. Now there's another method, again, the way I prefer. So I'm going to show you again. This time, if I'm looking for range, I'm looking at my y value. It's what's important to me. All right. So again, when I'm doing range, I start at the bottom. When I'm doing domain, I start at the left. But the reason I do that is because then your numbers are already in ascending order, and you don't have to worry about that extra step. So I'm going to start at the bottom. What is my range value here? What is that value on the y-axis? It is negative 4. Now I'm going to come up to these guys. What is their value on the y-axis? Just like this was negative 4, these guys, their y value was a 1. And I do not have to repeat it. Then I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to come over to the x-axis, and its y value was a 2. And if you notice, I get the same answer again. The range of this function is negative 4, 1, 2. I think y'all are going to be great at this. I really do.